Hi, friends. Welcome to today's episode of We Are Marketing Happy, a healthcare marketing podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Bristow, and I'm also the CEO and founder at Hedy Hopp, a full service, fully healthcare marketing agency. I am so excited to be coming to you fresh out of SHSMD 2025. Our team had so much fun at this conference, and so we're going to use today's episode as a recap. Even if you weren't able to go, or if you did attend and want to see if our highlights are the same as what you felt was your personal highlights, this is a great episode to give you a little bit of a recap of some of the main things that we found as big takeaways for SHSMD this year. I'm super excited to be joined by Marissa Gurrister, Hedy Hopp's very own Director of Growth, and Brenda Cross, our Marketing Manager. Welcome, ladies.
Hi.
Thank you.
Brenda, let's start with you. Let's talk a little bit about the Hedy Hopp booth. So, for conference attendees that have seen a Hedy Hopp booth, you know we always go big. We do custom booths every single year that always try to incorporate artists. We like to give our money to real humans, as we like to say, instead of trade show companies. So, Brenda, tell our listeners a little bit about how Hedy Hopp chose to show up this year.
Yeah, our booth was a home run with everybody. We went all out, like Jenny said. If you're watching this podcast, I am wearing a custom sweatshirt that we had designed by our 2023 artist in residence, Lauren Younge. She painted these all by hand. If you want to check out our Instagram at Hedy Hopp or our LinkedIn, you'll see some pictures there as well of all of the artist's work that we incorporated. The big hit was our floral arch arrangements and floral earrings that we wore to the conference. These were all designed by floral artist Annie Kuhn with Verde Designs, and she is from St. Louis. She flew with us to the conference, set everything up. Real flowers were part of our booth. She refreshed them every day. We had new, fresh floral earrings every day, and they were a huge hit. They were so colorful, and we stood out so much. And it was very sad to take it down yesterday, quite honestly. But we will be doing it again for HCIC in just a few weeks. So you will get to see more flowers very soon. We also, as with every conference, we have art prints available for free for people to take from our artists in residence. This year, our artist in residence is Heather Ward Miles. She's a painter from Carmel, Indiana, and soon we'll be choosing our 2026 artist in residence. So each year the art rotates. The art was a huge hit as well, and we raffled off an original painting from Heather too for one lucky attendee to have shipped to them.
Yeah, great recap. And for fans, if you're listening in, if you are a fan of the sweatshirts, Lauren actually sells them on her Instagram. So we had lots of people say, "Oh, I want one." Well, the good news is you can have one. Reach out to Lauren. She actually dropped them on her Instagram about 3 weeks ago, and I immediately messaged her and said, "We will take six." So they are available if you would like to show support to a fabulous artist. We'll link to all three of the artists that we mentioned in the show notes. Marissa, this was your very first SHSMD. I would love to hear your big picture takeaways. Talk about your perspective of your overall experience. And then I'd love if you could tell me a little bit about one of your favorite speakers or sessions.
Sure. Yeah. So it was my first SHSMD. It was very fun. It was just fun to connect with folks in person. I had colleagues from past lives that were there that I got to reconnect with, and friends on LinkedIn that I have followed professionally for quite some time that we got to meet up in person, which was really, really cool. It was interesting to me. I kind of felt like there was a common thread among everyone about these like issues that we're all struggling with. Like there's kind of this theme amongst healthcare marketers where I feel like we're all having troubles measuring performance with all of the like changing compliance laws and regulations and keeping up with it all. Just like finding time in our schedules to be innovative and come up with fresh ideas. I feel like one of those three issues came up in almost every single conversation I was having, which was I don't know, kind of reassuring to know that like we're all struggling with the same things here. But it was just fun to be able to be there in person and hear what other folks are doing to overcome some of those challenges, bounce ideas back and forth, and just have real conversations. But honestly, like kind of to that point, the keynote by the poet Tucker Bryant, he really went into more depth about how sometimes like our breakthrough comes when we can really like take things out of our everyday and remove things in our daily work that we're constantly doing to make room for new innovative ideas. So I thought that it really hit home for a lot of the folks there just having those conversations.
Yeah, I think he really tied it together. He was talking about erasure poetry,
Yeah.
where sometimes real
Mhm.
art can be created by removing things instead of always adding things. And that really is such a big reminder for marketers
Yeah.
because we're constantly trying to do more, 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 more. And as our budget shrinks, sometimes the actual art of being, a decision maker and trying to make a difference is perhaps removing things from our plates instead of continuously adding. So I agree. That one was really meaningful. My favorite session was actually Wash U's session they did on integrated data. The presenters were Verna, Ehlen, and Molly Bailey. And I really liked because I felt like out of all the sessions talking about data and analytics, theirs was one of the only ones that actually got real. They actually had some good meat to the presentation. They showed some live examples of their dashboards, and there was actually enough expertise in the two women that were presenting where they could actually dig into the details. So it wasn't just theory and philosophy around analytics and measurement. They were talking real numbers, real integrations, real best practices. And it really went to show how much time and energy had to go into making something like that that actually functioned. So
Yeah.
many times we go to presentations and sessions where it is all theory around what we all should be doing. And then you walk away and feel like you didn't write that much down. So just want to give a shout out to those two ladies from WashU because they did a phenomenal job creating a meaty presentation that had some good value for attendees. Brenda, how about you? What was your favorite session?
My favorite was on the final day, one of the very early morning sessions at 8 a.m. It was called Beyond the Campaign Launch, Why Your Experience is Your Marketing. And this was led by Kristen Baird. She's the president and CEO of Baird Group, and Steve Cook, and he's the managing partner at Cast and Hue. And the big thing was highlighting that tricky but very crucial relationship between marketing, clinical leadership, and operations. And having come previously from a provider, a lot of this I could relate to. That it was a lot of great information that seems very simple, but is actually very difficult to put into practice, and takes a lot of ongoing work. Really, the key takeaways were if you say it as part of your brand, as part of your marketing, you have to be ready to live it. That patient experience ultimately dictates your brand, not what you say it is, not what you say your mission is, not what you say your promise is. You need to make sure you can actually fulfill that promise that you're making. They actually put a really great slide up that had a tagline or a promise to patients, and then it had an asterisk, and it said like, unless Carl is working or something like that because he's mean, So like it's there's no asterisk that we put on taglines or anything like that, but patients are experiencing these hiccups when they actually get to a provider that inevitably can happen throughout the entire experience from booking to billing. Um, if you don't engage your operations and your clinical leadership and patients then have a poor experience, your marketing and strategy just goes out the window. It doesn't matter. It will fail. Even if you did your job and you did the best marketing campaign ever with the best creative, it's not going to work because that patient experience that poor experience cannot make up for that. They won't want to come back. They'll share it online in a review, and other people will see that, and that really matters. So they had two steps that Kristen and Steve highlighted as part of this process to make sure you're incorporating clinical leadership and operations. One was journey mapping to really go through the steps that patients walk through themselves when they're going in for a particular service. So you start with a trigger event. What makes people call your organization? An example could be The patient develops a fever at work. They realize they need to figure out what's going on with them and really take each individual step, even the very small steps in between matter to see how they're getting to you, what's happening when they get there, and what's happening after. Another crucial part of really engaging with the patient experience is mystery shopping, which I thought was very interesting, and not something it seems like a lot of providers do from the hands that were raised in the room. There's only a few people that had done mystery shopping at their organizations, but it really allows you to look at both facts and feelings as part of that process. So not just all the data that you get from surveys, you really get really meaningful information as part of that mystery shopping and places that maybe aren't living up to your promise as a brand, as a healthcare provider. One key highlight was to not try to do mystery shopping yourself. You may feel like, oh, I can go in and do that as the marketing director or marketing manager and do that on my own. But you have your own biases and you have a lot more knowledge of your organization than a typical patient would. And it's really best to even have someone who's not involved in healthcare as part of their day-to-day work at all. So they can have a more typical patient experience and you can see it through a typical patient's eyes and not through kind of your lens that has so many biases incorporated in it. So ultimately, the patient experience should be part of marketing, which I thought was interesting. I don't know if that's feasible for some small marketing teams to take on the whole patient experience with marketing. I think what they really highlight is it's important to have that really close relationship with clinical operations to make sure there's that feedback loop there and that you're not launching any campaigns until you've nailed down your patient experience and any hiccups that are within that. And lastly, empower staff to become really true ambassadors of the brand and to help them see how their work fits into the overall patient experience. So one example that I thought was really good was maybe the person who's the janitorial staff who helps clean the bathrooms. That is actually a crucial part of the experience. I think there was one review they highlighted that was, oh my gosh, I went into the bathroom in the waiting room and it was filthy. And I could only think about how my dad is going into surgery there and I don't want him to get an infection. And that's what they're connecting. So even things like that can make or break an experience of the patient and also the people supporting their patient. So even every single job as part of that system is part of making that patient experience, whether it ends up good or bad.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. Great sessions. Well, I can speak for not only the two of you, so the three of us, but also the other Hedy and Hopp team members to say that we loved SHSMD this year. We really had a lot of fun, made a ton of phenomenal connections. So thank you for the team at SHSMD for putting on a phenomenal conference yet again this year. We're very appreciative of your time and energy. Hedy and Hopp, we actually led a pre-conference workshop that was 2.5 hours long on Sunday. Packed room talking advanced patient privacy, both on the marketing tactics and on the actual analytics side for integration. So really digging into things like what the technical differences are between a CDP and SGTM. So we really enjoyed speaking and got really great feedback afterward as well from
And
attendees.
lots of great questions too from the folks in the room, which was nice to have that like back and forth and that dialogue. That was nice.
Yep, totally agree. It was super fun. So I will say overall that I think our biggest takeaway from SHSMD this year was that there's power in prioritization. It's so easy to keep adding more and more things to your plate, but sometimes having blinders on and focusing on those things that are truly going to move the needle for your organization is what is most important. And really, that's exactly what we help healthcare providers, practices, and payers with every day at Hedy and Hopp. So thank you for tuning in to today's episode of We Are Marketing Happy. We hope this recap episode was valuable. And we'll see you next week for another episode. Have a great rest of your day. Cheers.